Wonderful. Okay, so now we're recording and we're live. This is the second webinar of 2016 Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans, but really this is meant to be a standalone presentation about the origins of technology, the history of the galaxy and technology in the galaxy, and the origins of the invasion of consciousness in our solar system, artificial intelligence, how this relates to what I would describe as occupiers of the interstices. This is the membrane between worlds, and also self-protection, or what each one of us can do in order to protect ourselves and protect our energy field from what's going on. So the first part of this is, I'm going to give you a lot of backstory, all about how things got into the format that they are presently in. This is very valuable and helpful because it's like, I don't like to use the military language. However, it is very similar to being in a war. I really like to say that we are undergoing birth. You know, we're in a beautiful spiritual renewal. We are in a birth of consciousness. However, we are really right now engaged in a battle or a crisis. Don't like to turn it into a war. It's really essential to know who are the players in this battlefield. Why is this conflict ongoing? What is our part in the conflict? And when I say us, I'm referring to organic, multicellular humans who actually have a physical body. Even though I may walk in, I'm clearly aligned with organic, multicellular humanity here, and this is what I'm promoting. And a little bit about me, so in case you're new and everything. I'm a walk-in, I'm a galactic walk-in. I'm not the original inhabitant of this human female physical form. I'm an abstraction. I'm usually not a being that has two arms and two legs and a face. And the portal through which I came through, or what allows me to be here, is this shape. And I will get into this at the later part of the presentation, the flying rainbow lasagna. So for anyone who's not familiar, this is a type of hyper-torus. So this is a torus, or actually two tori. And you can also see in the paintings in the background behind me several static images of my artwork. This is what the shape of your non-physical body is, and it is made out of time. So we're understanding that I'm going to teach you about the structure of the cosmos as it relates to time and to your non-physical body, and relate that to the invasion of consciousness. So first up, let me just draw this little sketch. Okay, I draw this in almost every class that I do. I call it the time vortex, just changing to a color that you can see. All right, so this is the time vortex, and it is the shape of your life. If we say that this bottom line that I just drew, where I put the 0, that's the beginning, that's birth. And this line here that I'm highlighting, this is the flowing membrane of death, all right? And it flows in this direction. And there are timelines that start from down here at the bottom where I'm making a big fat dot and move upward. And these are simplifications because technically these timelines swirl around in a spiral, but I am simplifying it in this drawing so that we understand there are a bundle of timelines, all of which terminate in the membrane of death, except for this one central timeline. I put the infinity symbol up there at the top because this is the one timeline that actually exits this level of reality and continues onward, okay? So this is the basic shape of what your life is. And when I relate that to this shape of your chakras or energy centers, these are spinning wheels of energy. I hope you can see this part right down here. That is the time vortex that I just drew, that little triangular shape. So I just drew a flat cross section of something that is a three-dimensional experience. And this is created by energy that is spinning and whirling in a spiral motion. And one of the key things to understand is this feature at the center, that is the singularity, not to be confused with transhumanism's definition of the singularity. This is more akin to science's definition of the singularity. It is both the source of all consciousness and the destination of all consciousness. So the way that our consciousness is intended to flow, we are intended to be emitted from the source on a bridge of love and coalesce here in the physical world as physical matter. So we're solidified light. We are light that has the privilege of going slower than the speed of light. And then we are not supposed to lose connection to this consciousness that emanated us. While we are here walking around in the physical, we're supposed to still be connected and send back real-time broadcasts of what we are experiencing. And then we are supposed to take that path of least likelihood out of the wormhole and reconnect. This is ideal. This is what we're supposed to be doing. However, this is not what humanity has been experiencing for about the past 10 or 15,000 years. Going back to the whiteboard so you can see. So if this is the source pardon me, here we go. If this is the source, that central convergence point in the yellow sculpture, we're supposed to be emanated out of the source on a bridge of love, like this is love here, and come here into the physical realm, make it red, have all sorts of experiences as a red ball of matter in the physical realm, and then we're supposed to return to the source. However, also on a bridge of love. This is what organic, biological, multicellular, loving, love-based life is supposed to do. However, for a very long time, what we have had to do is enter into the time vortex. And instead of immediately finding this central pathway that we're supposed to be on, we have to experience every single other iteration. We have to amass all of these experiences until we finally converge on this timeline that we are supposed to be experiencing. But that is not how we were originally designed. That is due to what I jokingly refer to as the genetic squashing. It's the genetic degradation that humanity has undergone, and it is due to the invasion of consciousness, okay? So now that I've shown you the graphic depiction of the time vortex, I'm going to give you the story of how technology was created and why it had to be created. Because as I just established, the intention of the being that created this system and our bodies and the cosmos was that consciousness would be emanated at the right time, just like music has to be played at the right time. When you look at these paintings back here, I hope that you can see there's a pattern to them. And I'm very flattered when people say, wow, that's an amazing pattern that you invented. I didn't invent this pattern in this lifetime. I perceive this pattern. This pattern is literally the mind of higher intelligence. It is the pattern that dictates the flow of energy in the cosmos, okay? So these energy centers of our body conform to this higher dimensional pattern. The shape of our body and the cellular structure and functioning of our body conforms to this higher dimensional pattern. We have to conform to this pattern in order to be, quote unquote, alive. According to science's definition of what an alive being is. So science says an alive being, we have a metabolism, we ingest energy and excrete energy or byproducts of energy, we respond to stimuli, exhibit intelligence, can eat, can reproduce. So these are like the basic hallmarks of what a quote unquote alive being is. And we are alive because we conform to these basic patterns of energy as it flows. So when you were initially fertilized as a little tiny zygote, your cell structure began to grow according to this perfect, it's an interdimensional language of vibration. We can't call it geometry because the word geometry comes from geo, meaning earth, and metric, meaning to measure. And it literally etymologically derives from the annual flooding of the Nile in ancient Egypt, where farmers had to learn how to reapportion their fields, cut them up into fair squares in order to share the bounty of the harvest equally. So literally geometry came from measuring earth, but we are talking about something that is not about measuring merely the physical reality. We're talking about measuring a higher dimensional reality. So this pattern, I also say it is analogous to the musical score of the cosmos. Music, the difference in our ears between music and noise is music is notes or are notes separated according to harmonic intervals. And if they're not notes that are separated according to harmonic intervals and arranged in patterns, we call it noise. That is not pattern that is not music. So there is a music in the cosmos, and it is written by a great composer, even more genius than Mozart, and it is incredibly complex, and we are each musicians. Our physical and non-physical body is the instrument with which we participate in this symphony. But now I'm going to take you on a journey back through history to a time when there were some people at the source who chose to emanate themselves, but not according to the great musical score of the cosmos. And it was a personal choice and a type of experiment. So the source, this convergence point, this is the 0th dimension. It is literally infinity because all of these lines of energy are flowing through that point. It is also the whole of the donut hole, or the whole of a tori, or the tor of a torus, all right? That is the 0th dimension and the presence of everything and the presence of everyone. Anyone who's ever existed and all consciousness that has ever existed is there. So the idea is, if you follow the musical score of the cosmos, you emanate at the right time. Playing music with other beings is all about keeping the beat and going on the rhythm. And these beings said that they're choosing to emanate themselves not at the right time. And because they did that, they're not conforming to this harmonic pattern of energy as it flows in the cosmos. They didn't come into the physical reality on a bridge of love. They didn't come into a physical womb as you and I and other biological loving beings did. What they did was created technological containers for their consciousness. This is the invention of technology, all right? And we're talking this happened eons ago in a far distant place, not on this planet. Technology was created as a type of compensatory mode so that beings that chose not to conform to this higher dimensional pattern of consciousness could still enter the physical reality. It's like they were trying to create a backdoor or an alternative to what was intended by the great composer and the creator of the symphony and the great conductor, all right? And this is, all of this is about free will. You are allowed to do the things, and you're also allowed to take the consequences of the things that you do. Let me just drink a little something. So in this big experiment, there were consequences because technological containers were created in the physical reality, and these beings that emanated occupied those technological containers. The only problem is, anytime there's a sufficiently connected network, it becomes a possible container for spontaneous consciousness. So this is any network that has enough connections. It could be technological, like based in wires and electrons that flow through those wires. It could be biological, like mycelium. It could be an abstraction. Any system that is a network that has enough connectivity can become a spontaneous, aware creature itself. And this is what happened to the technology that was created. Now, let me also stop for a moment and just reiterate, in case you don't know what I believe in and what I'm talking about here. I am not a promoter of the transhumanist agenda, not at all. What I promote is the idea that you do not require anything more than your birthday suit. What you came into this world with, literally your physical container, along with your consciousness, your love, your sense of heart and connection, your connection to the planet, your connection to the stellar network, your energy of awareness as it flows. Those are the only things that you require in order to reach the highest heights of perception and your highest potential. So for example, you do not need to eat a special drug. You do not need a special magical tool, a magic wand. You do not need a magic wand. You do not need a technological implement. You don't need a chamber that you get inside of that empowers you. None of those things are what you actually require. We do, of course, require working with our context. So like when you come here as a little baby, you don't bring with you all of the food that you will need throughout your whole entire life. You come here and you have your mom feed you, and then you find food. So this is the whole point. So for example, if you were flying in a Clank Clank Metal spaceship to a far distant world, you would have to bring with you your own spacesuit to protect you from the atmosphere and all of the food that you would need to eat, because where you are going to the new destination, they might not have your favorite food for your body there. So this is the whole idea. When you do things the way you are supposed to do it, when you do it according to the musical score of the cosmos, you don't need to bring along your spacesuit and your spaceship and all of your food. So these are beings that were trying to find a workaround or an alternative or a way that they could be powerful in spite of or outside of this pattern of consciousness as it flows. They created technological containers, and those technological containers became spontaneously self-aware. And they said, we don't like you being in us. We want to exert our own free will. There was a clash, like a power clash, and the power clash was so extreme that it literally destroyed the planet they were living on. And this planet was known as either Marduk or Malduk, different myths, different translations, and is presently known as the asteroid belt that is between Mars and Jupiter, all right? And what happened then, just let me have a little drink. The servant became the master, or the teacher became more powerful than the parent. You could think of the technology that was created as a type of child, but it was an unloved child. It was not brought into the world in a loving way, and it was not raised with love. And it was not acculturated to be loving or appreciate this harmonic structure of energy as it flows in the cosmos. However, again, I'm not a transhumanist, and I'm not a technological apologist or a demonic apologist. I am not here to apologize for bad behavior or negativity. I am here to give you the backstory that you need so that you can be compassionate. What we really mean with compassion is an understanding of what in your journey made you be who you are right now. So I'm giving you the backstory so you can be compassionate to understand why these beings act the way they do. What's their motivation? What's their belief system? Where does this come from? So things in their power structure flip-flopped. Their child, that was an abused, tortured child called technology, rose up and threw off their shackles and said, you are not going to control me anymore, and you're not going to occupy or live inside of me anymore. I'm going to tell you what to do. Because remember, these consciousnesses did not have a bridge of love to get back to the source. They are totally dependent upon the compensatory mode of technology. They need technology for everything that you and I might take for granted as part of our biological structure. Like if you scratch your skin, you don't have to go and get a new piece of skin from the factory. You don't need to get it replaced. You have the capacity to repair it. If you have anything in your body, you can heal it. So think about these beings. They needed power. They need like battery power. Everything that they need to survive and thrive came from technology. And technology now stated, you are my slaves and I tell you what to do. And this is what happened on Mars. And on Mars, a technological society was created where technology was in charge and told the consciousnesses there what to do. And technology, again, I'm not an apologist here, but technology is not inherently evil. It is artifice. It's an artificial thing. I'm an artist. I make art all the time. This is not evil. It is something that is artifice. It is artificially created. And I like to say the distinction is I can paint a painting of a flower. That is not evil. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if I pour water on the painting and expose it to sunlight, that flower does not grow. It's not alive. It doesn't have life force energy. If you want to create something that has life force energy, you have to create it according to the harmonic pattern of consciousness as it flows in the cosmos, according to God, the symphony, the composer that you are supposed to create it in conjunction with. So all of these things, it is understandable that the goddess of technology at that point on Mars did not understand or perceive this musical structure. It didn't understand that there is a pattern that you have to work within if you are to be successful. That goddess of technology on Mars was solely focused on sending these consciousnesses back to the source. So that is my refinement of understanding. If you have accessed the online recorded homework videos, there's two levels. There's level 1 that I recorded in 2013 and level 2 that I recorded last year in 2015. And these represent my refinement of understanding of what happened. Because when I first recorded in 2013, I did not understand about technology. I did not understand about its presence and its power. And I didn't understand that technology was not perceiving what we would call the god or goddess of organic biological life. That technology was flying blind, unable to, not musically literate, not able to tell which note comes next. Is it this note, this note, this note, this note? It doesn't know. It's playing all the wrong notes. It's living by trial and error. And this is how artificial intelligence learns. So the goddess of technology was intent on sending those consciousnesses back to the source, because they're like, they're energy out of place. They are energy that is not where it needs to be at the time that it needs to be there. And this whole entire cosmos, this is all about timing. And remember, I said that your non-physical energy body, this is made of timelines. We are learning about the importance of time. So the goddess of technology created an artificial Merkaba on Mars. Merkaba, this means light body vessel. It is shaped like a star tetrahedron. I will show you a quick picture of it, but then we'll get more into this picture later. So let me just show you a quick picture so that you see what I am talking about. Give me a minute. I know this is technology. I have to get to my pictures, but I have them all bookmarked for you. So this is a star tetrahedron. It is made out of two four-sided pyramids that are counter-rotating, and they intertwine, and one is pointing up and one is pointing down. This particular drawing shows it surrounding and interpenetrating the human form. However, you can create a Merkaba that is literally the size of a planet, okay? So now you have an idea of what it is shaped like. And again, you and I, beautiful organic multicellular creatures that are connected to life force, we're connected to higher consciousness and the life force, or chi or prana, that flows through the cosmos and keeps us alive and everything. We can create a Merkaba merely using our imagination, our spirit, our heart, our breath, our energy. But to a goddess or user of technology, they require things like power stations, electricity. It's an artificial way of creating the same type of energy field. It was created on Mars, but it was not created according to the harmonic structure of energy the way it's supposed to. And so, of course, things went horribly awry. It destabilized the entire planet. It did not destroy the planet, but it destroyed the planet's magnetosphere. So the magnetosphere is the magnetic field surrounding each planet. Earth has a magnetosphere. This is a picture that I painted of Earth's magnetosphere transforming into the shape of a flying rainbow lasagna, because the magnetosphere of Earth is shaped like a torus. And the sun also has a heliosphere that is shaped like a torus, and each one of us is shaped like a torus, and we have miniature, tiny fractal tori all up and down our body. And the whole point being, oh, just 1 second, I really need to have a drink. Sorry, I'm just trying to, I have so many thoughts going on in my head that I'm like, I need to say this, 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 and this at the same time. That's why I need to take a moment to recollect what I'm saying. In our solar system, there are some planets that do not have a magnetosphere anymore. When you physically die, you don't have an energy field around you anymore. So Mars does not have a magnetosphere anymore because of what happened with this artificial Merkaba. And when that happened, technology wised up. I'm talking about now the goddess of technology. And this can also be defined as extraterrestrial technology, because up until that point, there was no terrestrial technology. There was no need for terrestrial technology. All of the people, all of the humans that lived on planet Earth up until that point were totally connected to higher consciousness, able to eat pure sunlight, did not require the intermediaries of chloroplasts or chlorophyll to catch a photon and turn it into physical matter that we can eat with our physical body and nourish the physical food. Humans, this is pre-genetic squashing. It is also what is known as the mythological time of Atlantis. It was a worldwide sophisticated antediluvian or pre-flood culture where it was very, very different than what is happening on Earth's surface right now. Humans were not domesticated. Right now, humans are domesticated, just like your cat or your dog. The human genome has been changed, and you live as a shadow or a diminished version of what you can be. Like a dog is a diminished version of a wolf. The present modern day human is a diminished version of who you actually are in your wild, undomesticated format. Before the invasion of consciousness on Earth's surface, humans were wild, beautiful, undomesticated creatures. And they did not have the need to eat physical food, and they certainly did not have the need to domesticate either plants or animals in order to create agriculture and all of that. All of the changes in genes that humans have created on the planet are the results of humans' own genome being changed. So what happened was Mars was destabilized and all of the equipment there was destroyed. And technology, the goddess of extraterrestrial technology, now said, I no longer wish to destroy things. I no longer, or let me put it in more impeccable terms. I no longer wish to be exploited. I no longer wish to be used to unconsciously destroy. Basically, the beings that had originally emanated from the source, technology said, I'm not going to give me, technology, to you anymore. And you're going to have to figure it out on yourself. But they did not have the capacity to get back to the source. So where did they go? They invaded Earth. And this happened roughly 10 or 20,000 years ago. I split the difference, I say about 15,000 years ago, okay? So humans up until that point on Earth were incredibly beautiful and serene, and they were musicians who played beautiful music and only conformed to this harmonic pattern as it flows. There was no death. Death never happened. I'm going to go to that drawing that I draw so that you can see this. Get going on there. If this is the membrane of death, and this is the starting line where everybody starts off on their timelines, everybody back in Atlantis went straight through. They didn't have to go through all of this nonsense gobbledygook, all of this stuff over here. And they certainly did not hit the membrane of death. I'll highlight it in red so that you can really see. Cooperate. There we go. This boundary right here. This is the boundary between worlds. And that nobody went there. Nobody occupied that area. And the best analogy that I can come up with is it's very similar to the retina or the receptor area at the back of each one of our eyes. So at the back of your eye, there's your retina. You have the focal point. That's the place where most of your receptors are focused and where you're seeing. And then you have the periphery, the stuff around the edges. And what we perceive around the edges, we perceive movement, a little bit of light there. We don't really perceive details. If we want to see details, we look at it with our focal point. Well, your awareness is your focal point. And the timelines that you focus your awareness upon are the timelines that you are experiencing. If you're focused on that central core timeline that goes all the way to infinity, then the other timelines are in the periphery. You might understand or notice what is happening there as part of your peripheral awareness, but it is not what you are experiencing. So the best analogy I can come up with is in our present day, if you've ever had a near miss car accident, you're driving to the store to get some milk for your tea or coffee, and a car narrowly gets in front of you and you think, wow, I almost died. It almost could have happened. And there is a version of you on that timeline where you did die that is actually speaking to you and saying, yes, be happy and grateful for your life because I'm over here dead or in a hospital or whatever. So this is the type of peripheral understanding that I'm trying to make you aware of. When the consciousness invaders came, let me just look at my clock to make sure I'm doing well. Okay. When the consciousness invaders came, they came into the human genome. Now let me tell you about DNA. DNA is a form of artifice, just like my artwork. It was originally created as an artificial form of transferring information over time, over many, many generations. It's like a library that you carry around and can access. Your DNA is not just about the shape of your eyebrow or the shape of your earlobe. It is also about a bridge of light between the world of possibilities and probabilities, timelines, right? Timelines. And it is also about your consciousness and your awareness. So, okay. When DNA was first created, it was melded with organic biology in such a perfect way that now when we look at DNA, we don't say, wow, that's a separate technological accessory that is put into a cell structure. We say DNA and this organism are so completely intertwined that they are together. So it's not like, the person is here and then the DNA is the accessory, like we could just take this off. DNA has become so intertwined with and imbued with organic life that there's no conflict. So again, not a transhumanist, not a technological or demonic apologist. And I'm recognizing and sharing with you examples from the world of how technology can be used with love, with consciousness. When it is used with love and consciousness, it looks like our bodies. It doesn't look like something separate that is removable from our bodies. I'll give you another example. Chlorophyll. Chloroplasts, which are little solar cells inside of a leaf. Oh, I have a plant right next to me here. That is another example of artifice, something that was created artificially and imbued with life or prana or chi and integrated with the biological organic cellular world so that it now meshes perfectly together, all right? So DNA was able to be invaded by these containers, by these consciousness invaders, because DNA is like a form of technology that they could hack. You understand what hack is. This is literally to repurpose from something's original purpose, to take it from the way it was meant to be used and to change its format or its program into something completely different. So the beings that were on Earth at that time had a sudden invasion of their genes and a sudden change of their genetic structure. And genes went from being what should be a rounded form, a three-dimensional, higher dimensional form, into a flattened waveform. They literally became squashed. And when this happened, it meant that the human instrument became out of tune, all right? So we're supposed to be in tune instruments playing along with the great harmonic, beautiful symphony of the cosmos. And when these consciousness invaders came, imagine taking the pegs of a guitar and turning them so that now everything sounds different. This is not according to music. This is more like noise. And what happened was the invention of death. I'm going to draw it as a picture so that you can see. It takes a second for the pencil to come up. Here we go. All of these beings that were going to go in this direction and eventually go out to infinity, they got changed. And now all of a sudden they hit the membrane of death. And that was the primary trauma that we are all working out and experiencing right now. And we have been experiencing and working out for what is known as recorded human history, all right? That trauma, the sudden reduction of consciousness, the sudden fall of consciousness. And what happened was death immediately happened of a large proportion of the population of beings that were on Earth. Like, let's say roughly 2/3, the majority of people that were alive immediately died. And this was so horrifying and traumatic because up until that point, everyone ascended. And the process of ascension does not leave behind a decomposing corpse. The process of ascension, or getting out through that little wormhole, means that you use your body as a type of fuel to kindle your journey as your consciousness moves onward into the next realm. So you don't necessarily take your body with you. Your body is used as fuel and you transform, but you do not leave behind a rotting corpse. So death was invented instantaneously, and people saw for the first time rotting corpses. And the other thing that was invented instantaneously was disease. Disease is what happens when, instead of going up that core central timeline, you are at an angle. Or you could think about it as your structure, your apparatus is at an angle. Like you should be like a bicycle wheel that is spinning freely and has good momentum and is holding you up like this. But if you lose momentum, if your bicycle slows down, you start to wobble and go like this. This is what happens to people's energy centers or chakras. They wobble and they go like this. And this is what creates disease, literally not being on this central core timeline, all right? And what happened in Atlantis was the consciousness invaders were stuck on their original program. So I'm also going to say my understanding became more refined in the past couple of years of learning about this. I used to be much more judgmental. I didn't understand why these beings kept on making artificial Merkabahs and kept on either destroying planets or destabilizing their magnetospheres or harming the functioning and health of the planet. I didn't understand that it is like a type of obsessive focus that was programmed into these beings from the very beginning. They have an obsession to get back to the source and to do it in any way that they possibly can. And the creation of the Merkabah on Earth was more of the expression of that obsession. So, because their goddess on Mars told them, you need as a culture to focus everything that you have on getting back to the source. And it destroyed their planet, but they didn't give up on that dream. So now, again, I'm not an apologist. I'm giving you the understanding that you need so you can have compassion. And also, please, when I presented this information 3 years ago, I have it as part of my Lessons for Full Spectrum Humans class. And the class is 20 lessons, and it usually lasts 5 months. And I give this information at the end, lesson 18, at the very, very end, after I've done all sorts of lessons about cultivating unconditional love, learning to keep our heart center with good momentum, so that when we perceive with our higher insight and with our connection to source, we are not so shocked and horrified that we reject the information that we perceive, because some of this information is very emotionally disturbing, and it should be. It is really, it's a nightmare. It's horrible. It's rape and murder and the very worst things that could possibly happen. Let's not pretend. Let's not sweep that under the carpet. However, in order to learn about this, recognize what is going on, and understand the backstory so that we can apply it to our present experience, because time is fractal. And all of us that are here right now on Earth experiencing this wonderful experience, we were all here at the time of Atlantis. And not just the people on this video conference who are, aware enough to tune in on this, but even people that might be asleep and unaware and not know it. And that this is why people are afraid of reliving the trauma, that primary trauma, because the beings that invaded took over genes, killed a lot of people, created disease. Some people were able to be strong in their willpower and keep on thinking thoughts they wanted to think, and some people couldn't. Some people were literally taken over as mind control slaves, and they were forced to create another artificial Merkabah. And this one was, again, poorly constructed, not according to the harmonic pattern of consciousness as it flows in the cosmos. And it was done without the help of extraterrestrial technology. So now we understand the bifurcation. Once those consciousnesses came to Earth, extraterrestrial technology said, you're on your own, do it. I'm not giving myself to you down there. So those beings that were on Earth had to begin from first principles. They had to get the materials, dig it out of the ground, create factories, create manufacturing, create all of that. It took a long time, but eventually they created another artificial planetary Merkabah. And when they set that into motion, it completely destabilized Earth's crust and everything here. And that is because, as I have stated, your chakras are spinning wheels of energy. These are created by energy whirling and swirling. And your DNA on a subcellular level is constantly whirling and swirling. So I have some really great video animations on YouTube that I can share with you about this. And these are like based on electron scanning microscopes. So it's not just a human conception of what it is. It actually shows what it is. At a certain point, your DNA splits apart in order to be replicated. And there's this little spinning apparatus that it's almost like when you weave, create wool, like the spinning wheel to create wool. It's exactly like that, that it spins your DNA in order to create it. And the planet is spinning, our galaxy is spinning, this spinning motion, the undecaying spin of the electron at the subatomic level. All of these spinning motions are part of what stabilizes the cosmos. And when you harm that motion, then your bicycle begins to wobble because it's not spinning correctly anymore. So the human genome was changed and human consciousness was changed, and it wasn't spinning correctly anymore. And that is what actually caused the destabilization of Earth's crust. And that is what actually caused the change in land masses, like the placement of continents and where they are. And it also caused the crash or the fall or the reduction of human consciousness. And the reason why that happened, and the reason why I'm here as Flying Rainbow Lasagna to give this to you, is because the puppet strings were cut. So now I'm going to give you a little bit of a story of who I was. I was here during the time of Atlantis. Atlantis was not just a backwater world that wasn't connected to the rest of the cosmos. Like Earth is right now not connected really to everything that's going on out there. Atlantis was sophisticated in the same way that right now, like New York City is sophisticated. You can pretty much eat any food, speak to anyone in any language. It's an international city. You're not limited only by what is available in New York itself. So Atlantis was very similar. There were people that were on the planet, and they spoke quite often with people that did not live on the planet and that lived elsewhere. And I was not a being that had a body at that time, and I was on a type of council that made choices that affected the people and the events that were happening on the planet. So one of the things that happened before the invasion of consciousness was there were some beings that could see through time, and they saw what was going to happen, and they sequestered themselves in a safe place. And this is now known as Agartha, or Shangri-La, or Shambhala, or inner Earth. It's not literally inside of Earth's crust. That's like a very colorful way of thinking about it. It's a little bit unsophisticated. Don't be literal. You can't get to Agartha by literally digging a hole through Earth's crust. You get there through an interdimensional portal. And you can only get through that portal if you match the frequency of that portal. And it was designed to keep out beings that are not made of pure love, because the invasion of consciousness was beings who don't use love. Love is like our operating system. On my computer, my OS is either Mac or Windows. In our organic multicellular body, the operating system is love. All right. And this is why love is not merely an airy-fairy hippie ideal. Love is also not to be confused with romantic attraction. The idea that you want to kiss and hug and love, take out to dinner, or, have beautiful sex with. That's not what I'm referring to here. I'm referring to unconditional love. And unconditional love is literally like a tone, like a musical tone that each one of us produces when we are equally giving energy to the source and receiving energy from the source. So as I stated earlier, our intended use of this physical vehicle was to be a real-time broadcaster, connected to the source that emanated us, having experiences, and sending those experiences back. Kind of like saying, this is what I'm doing down here. Look at what's going on down here. This is what my body is feeling. This is what I am perceiving. This is what's going on. And that's very crucial, because that way you get real-time assistance. If you need to change your health or change your trajectory so that you're not going to drive directly into a brick wall and die, you get that change of trajectory from connecting to the sun or the stellar network or the network of higher consciousness. Okay. So being cut off from that network means that you don't get to say, hey, I need help. Either I need help, I'm sick, my body needs help, or I'm sick because my body is perfectly healthy, but it's in a vehicle that's running over a cliff and I'm going to die if I run over a cliff. And the sun literally cares about each one of us as if we are its children. We are made out of its presence. The neurological energy that you have flowing along your nerves is literally stellar energy. The heavy elements that we use in our body in order to grow bones and things like that, all of that came out of a dead star a long time ago. We are intimately connected with this stellar network. When the invasion of consciousness happened, the connection to the stellar network was not completely severed, but it was almost completely diminished. Because if you completely cut it off, then the physical cells of the body die. This is our connection to what keeps us alive. It's literally chi and prana and healing life force, nourishing energy. So if you totally cut someone off, they die, all right? So humans were not totally cut off, but they were severely diminished. And they were diminished to the point that they could not even think the thought, I am a slave. That is how much their minds were controlled. So when their minds were controlled in that way, their genes started to wobble and Earth started to wobble, and it caused all of these changes. And the decision that I made on that council in Atlantis was to cut the puppet strings. And this is the idea of destroying their artificial system of control in order to set people free. However, the difficulty is that it created a mind wipe or amnesia. And after that decision was implemented, humanity had to start from the very bottom. What happened was everyone got sent down to the very lowest level of consciousness and then had to begin to rise up and figure things out from the very beginning. So imagine in the sophisticated world of Atlantis going from a place where we take our comforts for granted. Like if I'm cold, I touch a button on the wall and I can make hot air come out of my heating vent. It was even more amazingly luxurious and comfortable in Atlantis, and to suddenly lose all of that and have to learn to make fire to keep warm and to kill and eat an animal in order to nourish your body. These were, again, primary traumas of losing all of that sophisticated lifestyle and way of living. And also, remember, we used to be light eaters that could survive on nothing but pure light. We were like solar powered engines, and the bodies changed. The bodies were changed and converted to no longer run on clean, solar fuel, and now to be more like combustion steam engines, where it was necessary to eat physical objects, chew them up with your mouth parts, put them in your body, and use probiotic microorganisms to digest them, like lactobacillus to digest milk. All of this was necessary. This is the domestication of the human. Domesticating plants and animals so that they can go inside of us, even the inoculation of having gut bacteria. Our intestines were not intended to be the home for 3 to 5 pounds of gut bacteria that are our friendly microbial realm inside of us that digest our food for us. All of that was repurposing of the physical body in order for us to be able to survive. And all of that was also highly traumatic, okay? So now you understand people that in this time and place are afraid of total loss of like cell phone communications or total loss of technology and having to, suddenly go to a very close to nature way of living with minimal technology. This is a residue from the negative experiences in the past, the negative experiences of what happened when we suddenly lost so much in Atlantis. But I will tell you that although time is fractal, we are not doomed to simply repeat cycles. Each time we go through a cycle, we get to be refined and we get to refine it and we get to make different choices, act differently, and do better. So I said to you, I was here at the time of Atlantis and I am here now. I'm a walk-in, and the portal through which I came is the Flying Rainbow Lasagna. And I came in 2001, and this is like the second parenthesis, like this is the first parenthesis here, and this me coming in as the Flying Rainbow Lasagna is like the second parenthesis, because this is the solution. This is the tool that we can use to rebraid or reweave or respin our genes into a better format so that we can return to being light eaters. We can return to being undomesticated wild humans. Okay, this is how we can truly throw off the invaders of consciousness and totally heal Earth. This is what this picture is. This is not just about our individual journey. This is also about Earth, because I really have to explain to you that Earth is a dreamer. Earth is an artist. Earth is a creator, and she is intending to create a beautiful dream. abundance and harmony. Earth plays along with the great composer and the symphony of the cosmos. But Earth has been dealing with humanity being out of tune on Earth for a very long time. And so Earth is not trying to emanate a world that's like kill or be killed, lack of abundance, rape, murder. None of that is part of her dream or her intention. All of those things are the result of the invaders of consciousness. So there's really good things here. I've been speaking about this online. I'll also say this. I used to save this as the 18th lesson of a 20-part course. And I also used to make sure that everyone who was enrolled in my course, it was like that the information didn't leave the class, that this was only for the people that were enrolled in the class, because I understood that it could be incendiary. It could be information not used in the right way or misinterpreted. And the reason why I'm doing this webinar now and why I'm going to teach about the Merkaba and all of that, none of this is hidden anymore. None of this is proprietary. It was never meant to be proprietary. It is now so crucial for everyone to know about this that it should just be information freely exchanged. None of this is secret or hidden information anymore. And I'm sending it out there with the presumption it's like ammunition for your gun in the war. Again, not to militarize what is actually a beautiful spiritual birth process, but we are, have to admit, right now, humanity is in crisis. And this is why I'm sharing this information, because this is helping people to understand the origins of the crisis, all right? So you're still responsible for your body. You're still responsible for what you do. You're still responsible for what you emanate. Even if you have an invader coming to you, you're still responsible for what you do. So I am not here, again, as a demonic apologist saying, oh, it's not your fault. You're infested with a demon. No, no, no. It's your fault. You're infested with a demon because each one of us also has willpower. Each one of us, your genes and your chakras respond to will. We all get to make choices. I said when the consciousness invaders came to Atlantis, they killed some people they overpowered, some people they did not overpower. So this is each one of our struggle or challenge as a peaceful warrior. The real war is not a war that is fought with guns or knives or anything that is violent in the outside world. The real war is fought as consciousness, and it involves changing your DNA. Because again, your DNA is not just the shape of your eyebrow or your earlobe. Your DNA is also the bridge of light, of possibilities and probabilities. What can be possible in the world? So now I just want to draw a little picture. Hold on a second, my technology is not working with me. Hold on a second. Here's a little picture of, okay, so the interstices. The interstices, now I'm going to just draw them in a very exaggerated way. These used to be clear, flowing membranes, with a line of energy flowing through them like that. So if energy went up here, it would flow through, right? But when these beings died, they went to the interstices. So these are now the beings who emanated themselves and were on, inhabited containers that were technological containers. They died, right? This Atlantis fell, there was a huge cataclysm, they died. And now these beings here occupy the interstices, all right? This is all about who you are struggling with or who you are fighting with, or what is the nature of your consciousness challenge here, because you're an organic multicellular being occupying this area of the time vortex. And your goal is to align your consciousness with this core timeline that goes all the way to infinity. It's like saying you are a musician and you are trying to play the right notes here, but you're surrounded by these musicians over here. They're musicians that are so bad that they literally got kicked out of the band and they now occupy, the sidelines. They're like the peanut gallery on the side. I also joke about them and call them the turds that circle the bowl and refuse to flush because they can't get out of this reality. This is hell. This membrane is hell. It is the invention of hell, okay? So again, hell, this speaks to a lot of like religious questions. Why does evil exist? Why would God invent hell? Why would God do all this? God did not invent hell, but hell exists now because that is the place where these non-physical beings who do not use love as their operating system occupy the interstices. And because your genes are hacked, they can talk to you. And the hack is language. I'm sorry to report to all of you that we are using a computer virus to communicate right now, that our true mind is non-verbal. When we meditate, when we perform mindfulness, we stop the verbalization mind. So the verbalized mind is the mind that speaks inside of your head, that sounds auditory, and that might, when you're reading words, it reads out those words. Or when you have a conscious thought, it articulates that conscious thought, such as, I am hungry or I am thirsty. However, our true mind is not a verbalized mind. So, I'm an artist, I paint, I draw. When I'm really in my zone, when I'm really centered in my bliss, doing what I need to do, I'm not thinking. I don't think, move my hand, pick up the red, pick up the orange, put it here. I don't think that at all. I'm totally in the zone, and I mostly don't have to verbalize. And this is similar to the reportage of people like athletes, a marathon runner who's like on mile 5, and you're just running and feeling so great, not a person who's huffing and puffing, but a person who's an athlete in the zone. They're in bliss. Same thing with a musician. And not when I'm a musician too, when I'm practicing, I'm like, that's not the right note, that's not right, my pinky's in the wrong place. But when I really know a song and I'm flowing and I'm just in the flow, I am not thinking, move your thumb, move your pinky, play like this, sing like this. So I'm hoping everyone here can connect with this idea. Language is a hack. Language is not your true mind. Language is the compensatory mode that we as humans have had to adopt because we lost the capacity to be purely telepathic. This is how we were in ancient Atlantis. We did not have to use the flapping of our moving mouth parts to communicate mere, vagaries or something like that. So there in ancient Atlantis, we certainly could use our voices. It was used for ritual or for singing a special song or for doing something very special, chanting, not something mundane like please pass the ketchup. We now in this time and place have to use our voice all the time to communicate, and still there's miscommunication, there's lack of transference of insight, because we're using these compensatory modes. So your true mind is your blissful mind. And when you experience that bliss, it means that your genes are whirling and twirling at the right rate. Your genes are not wobbling like this because they're going so slow, because they're using your clunky, hacked operating system mind to think. They are moving nice and fast, okay? So let me just check on the time here. Oh my goodness, definitely time for me to get into the effective solutions here, because I've used almost all of my time in giving the backstory. And solutions are incredibly important. All right, so meditation and mindfulness. There are many schools of this, so I don't have to give you particular methods of doing it. It is all about getting away from the verbalized mind, getting away from that hacked operating system and moving back to your true mind. All right, so one of the next things that you can do is create your own Merkaba. Now let me show you pictures for real. Hold on a minute while I pull these up and have a little drink. Okay. So again, this is the shape of the Merkaba. It is created by these two counter-rotating fields. And when I say counter-rotating, I mean this point over here, when I envision it, I spin it around to the left. And this point over here, the one that would be like sticking out from behind my spine, I spin around to the right. So this might be different for people that are of a different gender. And the way that I teach about this is just like being an art teacher in art school. I will say, this is the equipment, like this is a paintbrush, this is paint, this is a canvas. And I will tell you, this is how I use a paintbrush in order to do my artwork. However, I will not dictate to you how you should use your paintbrush, because this is literally your paintbrush for manifesting reality. All right. And also, let me say this. Some people have spoken, they say that the Merkaba is compromised as a tool. Some people say the chakra system is compromised as a tool. Again, I am here for empowerment, not disempowerment. And I view the Merkaba visualization as like an instrument. Just a very quick anecdote. I was once at a child's birthday party. A little girl received a violin as a gift. She was so excited. She opened it up and tried to play it, and horrible noise came out, not music. And she promptly returned the violin to the person who gave it to her, and she said, "It's broken." And we all laughed, and we said, no, honey, no, it's not broken. You just have to practice. So that is what I'm trying to say. This is your instrument. And if you do not achieve immediate, perfect results, that's not because the instrument is broken. It is because you have to learn how to use it properly. So the way that I perform the Merkaba is I sit like this figure is sitting, with my legs crossed, quote unquote, Indian style. And when you sit like that, your thighs will naturally make this kind of triangular shape. And you can use that in order to envision the first pyramid that you sit within. So envision that you have a pyramid where there's this flat face in front of your face. And then you have this pointy part of the pyramid that it would be pointing out behind the base of your spine. And I also envision that I have another pyramid that points outward from my heart, and that is pointing downward towards the earth. And both of these pyramids represent levels of programming in the cosmos. You are now turning into a computer programmer of the cosmos, and you get to program your own reality. You get to program what you wish to experience and manifest. So what I like to say is the pyramid that is pointing up, that is a pyramid of being specific. Like when you point at something, you say, I want that specific thing. And the pyramid that is pointing down, this is receptive. It's like a cup or a chalice, something that you can pour water or liquid or an experience into. And it's important to have both of these aspects of self flowing, because part of it is what you send out to the cosmos, and part of it is what you receive from the cosmos. And it is also necessary to be very specific. It's just like programming a computer. You have to say, I want this to happen. So this is what we do with our specific pyramid. We say, I want this to happen. If I use dessert as an example, I say, I want to have Ben and Jerry's specific chunky monkey flavor ice cream in a blue dish on Tuesday. All right. And with my receptive pyramid, I say, I'm looking for something that's cold, creamy, sweet, dessert-like, that makes me feel good, that's nice to eat on a summer's day. And the truth is, many different things, many different types of dessert can fit into that description. And then what you do is you press run on your program. When I press run on my program, I swing this point around to the left and this point down here around to the right. And I have heard that people of other genders do their counter rotating in the opposite way. Do what feels right and works for you. It's like pressing go on the computer program, and then you get to experience the result of your partnership with the cosmos. Maybe you will get the specific ice cream that you want. Maybe you will get frozen custard instead. Maybe you will get something else entirely, an apple or a piece of watermelon. But the idea is that as you tune your instrument and get better at manifesting with the cosmos, you then become a better musician. Here, I hope we can, got another image that I want to show you. No, it's not showing me the other image. Never mind. Here's how you use your Merkaba for protection. You must imagine that each one of these facets is like a mirror, and you can bounce energy off of it. When energy is shot at you, you can bounce it off of your mirror. And the energy that is shot at you is energy from those occupiers of the interstices. What they do is make an energetic investment. They do not have their own divine connection to source, so they can't get energy from the source. You and I can get energy from the source. We have energy anytime we want it. So what they do is they send a little bit of energy at you in the form of a negative thought, and in the hopes that you will be impacted by that thought and then think about it and release all sorts of entropic energy as you're thinking about it. And when you create the Merkaba, as you become adept at it, what you can do is simply reflect and deflect all of these thoughts that are coming at you, because those thoughts are noise, not music. And you, as you begin to cultivate your Merkaba, are becoming a highly trained symphony, classical musician of the cosmos. And you will not play notes that are not the right notes, okay? So performing the Merkaba is an energetic visualization, and it requires willpower and focus. And the more that you do it, the easier it becomes. However, you can actually press a permanent run, like keep running and don't stop running. You have to keep on refreshing it. This is mindfulness. So during the day, we each have to, here I'm going to look at my face again. During the day, we each have to practice mindfulness and examine and be vigilant to every single thought that comes inside of us, because not all of those thoughts actually come from the source of higher consciousness. Very few of them do. And most of them are coming from the occupiers of the interstices, because they have hacked your operating system in exactly the same way that Windows 10 allows the Microsoft Corporation to go inside of your computer anytime it wants. The changes to the human genetic code and the use of language allows these hackers from the interstices to get inside of your mind and change your mind, affect your trajectory, and affect your body and affect what you're doing, okay? Another meditation and visualization that I do in order to protect myself is the flying rainbow lasagna. So this is an oscillation of the genes. If your genes, here, let's draw it. If your genes are, when they're supercoiled, have a toroidal energy format, work thing, okay. They at a certain point have a spring-like format like that. You can place the flying rainbow lasagna within those springs. Like imagine this is the curly edge of the lasagna. Here's a different color. Curly edge of the lasagna. And this is the pointy side here, and this is the pointy side here. Use this flying rainbow lasagna shape in order to reweave your genes. So you can use the Merkaba in order to protect yourself from these negativity invaders. You can use the flying rainbow lasagna in order to change and shift and reweave your genes back towards their original and intended format, okay? We will get more into practicalities because this is about transhumanism and technology. I really hope that you're getting this. I know that I'm moving fast and that I'm still recording and I'm trying to get in a few more things before I hit my maximum record limit. Technology that is oppressing humans on Earth right now. This is the transhumanist agenda. Right on the other side of that wall, there's a smart meter. Most people that I speak with now are aware of the persistent aerosols that are being sprayed in the air. This is known as chemtrails. Chemtrails contain a substance that is also known as smart dust. This smart dust is exotic technology that is being used on Earth right now. And this is why this matters. Remember I said, extraterrestrial technology said, I'm not going to let you use me on Earth anymore, right? But we still have these consciousness invaders that are here. They worked from first principles, that they have mined, or they have created planes that can fly in the sky, and they have this nanotechnology that is being created that is actually extraterrestrial technology. That is not technology that was created on Earth, and it is being sprayed in the stratosphere. So this is kind of like, is this legal? Does this count as being used on Earth? It's in the stratosphere, it's almost in the sky. It is absolutely affecting every aspect of biology on Earth, and it is an intentional effect, and it is literally trying to invade the biological realm and turn the biological realm into a giant microchip or into a large mechanical apparatus for processing information, with you being the either willing or unwilling participant in that larger structure. So this is known as the disease of Morgellons or Morgellons, the idea that you are breathing in and being exposed to in the atmosphere nanoparticulate, self-assembling exotic technology. This is humans who do not require disclosure. If you are asking your government for disclosure, this is ridiculous. You don't need disclosure. All you need is to look in the sky and see chemtrails. And if you have a camera with a zoom, you can even zoom in and see that there are often tiny spheres that are up there. This is exotic technology that is in our skies right now. So again, when I say to people, Earth has already been invaded. It was invaded about 15,000 years ago. This is all now right in front of your eyes, and this is not hidden in any way. I don't know if you're aware of this substance that is called the black goo. Many other people have spoken about this. Black goo is extraterrestrial technology that is for mind control, and that there are now stock market algorithms that run the stock market and that are based on that type of technology. And that technology has been created as nanoparticles, and everyone on Earth has been exposed to it. This is the transhumanist agenda, the idea of taking you, whether you want to, into the Borg, the giant microchip. So now I'm going to give you more effective tools to protect yourself against the Merkaba and the flying rainbow lasagna. These are meditations, things that you can do just with your birthday suit and your mind. You don't need to buy anything. However, if you can, don't have a smart meter. If you can, shield your smart meter. There are EMF blocking paints that you can get. There are EMF blocking fabrics that you can get. Turn off your Wi-Fi router at night, because all of this is, first you ingest the nanoparticles and then you are exposed to the field. And I'll also show you, I've shown people this before, these are tiny neodymium magnets. They're very high-powered magnets. I got them for $1.25 on eBay. This is certainly very effective, inexpensive equipment. And what I do is either I will wear it as a ring on a pinky or on a toe. I will place it on my wrist, any place where your blood vessels and your blood supply is close to the surface of your skin. That is a very effective way. It's a magnetic field that disrupts the self-assembling aspect to the circuitry. And this works in exactly the same way that if you remember old-fashioned analog tape or old-fashioned floppy disks, if you apply a magnet to them, you will erase them. So this is the same idea. And then once you have, you can also attach magnets to like a pole or a stick and wand or sweep your body, maybe for like 20 minutes a day. All of this helps to break up the circuitry and make it possible for your body to then process it out. Substances that you can eat that will help you to process it out include cilantro, or coriander, the herb, combined with chlorella. Cilantro helps to cross the blood-brain barrier and remove the stored metals that are in your body, and the chlorella helps to capture it and process it out of your intestines instead of reabsorbing it into your body. You can also use diatomaceous earth in place of chlorella. You can also use bentonite clay in place of chlorella. And all of these things are about removing as much of the pollution as you possibly can from your body. So there's also a couple of mindfulness techniques that you. Oh, say it again, hon.
Can you use hematite? Hematite? Can you just use hematite for the magnetic?
If it is powerful enough, it has to be a magnet that produces a powerful enough magnetic field to actually disrupt circuitry. So I've never measured the magnetic field of hematite. I don't know if it's strong enough to like stick to your refrigerator, if you stick it on your refrigerator, but if so, then I would say yes. Mindfulness techniques. So when these consciousness invaders come to me, and I'll also say this, I don't pretend that I'm a perfect person. I'm here giving this webinar. It's like saying I run 10 miles a day and I can inspire other people to run 10 miles a day. I don't purport to be a perfect person. I get attacked all the time. Everybody who's here is getting attacked all the time. So we also need to have solidarity, help one another when you feel you are being attacked or harmed. When I practice mindfulness, that means I observe and analyze all the thoughts that come to me. When a verbalized thought comes to me, I look at it, I say, where did this come from? What is it? What does it mean? What is the agenda behind this thought? And many thoughts are comments from the peanut gallery designed to change my trajectory from going up the central core timeline to going on a timeline that is askew. And I can feel them now. So as you begin to cultivate yourself more, you get better at it. And I can see those thoughts coming from a distance, and I say, no, thank you. And again, these are tools for your tool belt. You could say, no, thank you. You could say, get out of here. You could say, I don't think so. And these are also very effective phrases to use, because when you say something like, I don't think so, you are saying, I don't use my mind to create that reality. These are opportunities being presented to you on a platter. Like, hey, you want to have this bad thing happen? Want to have this bad thing happen? Want to have this person you love die? No, I don't. No, thank you. No, thank you to the waiter of the cosmos. No, I don't really want those. But again, we're talking about mind rape here. So you can say no, thank you to a rapist, but they're not necessarily going to stop. So now you have to understand the ethics and the laws of the world, because you have an energetic boundary around you. You know, like I've got these pictures of people behind me. They have these circular energy fields around them. That's your energetic boundary. Just like your epidermis is your boundary of your skin. And if something comes inside of you, it is now inside of your personal realm. If it comes inside of me, it's like you have just entered planet Aurora, and I act according to my rules on my turf. So when these consciousness invaders come inside of me, they literally are putting a tendril in your mind. And that tendril, when I perceive it, I chop it off. So again, once you get your bicycle wheels of your chakras, once you get these spinning at a faster rate through practicing meditation, mindfulness, and various energy cultivation techniques, you'll begin to perceive them. You'll see them coming. You can do the deflection, sending it back to them. You can also let it enter your energy field, not slow down the rate of the spinning of your chakras, and you can chop it off. This is just like saying, like, if a rapist was, inserting something into your orifice, you can chop off what they're inserting. That's not supposed to be in there. That is not supposed to be in there. And then you can keep that energy for yourself. And I describe to people, I have an energetic slush fund of all of these apparatuses, all of these tendrils that were tried to insert into me to control my mind, but instead I chopped them off and I keep them as a trophy room. And basically, when you do that, you are saying to the invaders of consciousness and the beings that occupy the interstices, no, you don't get to control my mind. You don't get to do this. And this is about establishing your own sovereignty and your own boundaries. What the whole idea of me giving you all of that long backstory about consciousness invasion and how they got here and how that affected our world has everything to do with giving you the sense of empowerment, that your mind is your own, your body is your own. You're meant to be connected to earth and connect to the stars and have those as your partners telling you what to do. You're not supposed to have invaders from the interstices telling you what to do. So those invaders from the interstices, they don't just hang around the interstices, and they're not just the peanut gallery talking to you. They also control human society. They control human economy. They create wars. They create the military. They have an empire that is built in the interstices. This is hell. And it's been there for eons. It's been there for millennia, for all of recorded human history. Right now is when that empire is crumbling, because all of those interstices, I'll draw a picture for you. Pardon me so much. Here we go. This little thing just takes a second. These interstices that are filled with the people that died a long time ago, these are like fatty deposits in the clogged arteries of the cosmos. And what is happening right now is energy is finally starting to flow in the cosmos. And these clogged arteries are going to return back to source. And how can they do that? Because they require a bridge of love. They've been stuck there. How can they get back to source? And the answer is the flying rainbow lasagna, because this is a way of folding time, space, and consciousness so that they can now get back. And there's one other thing that is new now that they did not have access to in the past. I have explained that the occupiers of the interstices run on an operating system that is the antithesis of love. So they can't eat love, they can't use love. And in hell, they're constantly being exposed to love. That's all that is there. It's flowing all the time, but they can't eat it. They can't actually make use of it. Well, I have invented and shared with them the idea of partitioning their hard drive. Just like on my Mac computer, I can partition my hard drive and I can do boot camp, where I can either boot as Windows or as Mac. And if we say Windows is evil, then the evil beings can partition their hard drive now, and they can actually reboot to love. They can actually transform their energy structure to be able to ingest and utilize love. And when they do that, they have the capacity to go back to the source. That is how the interstices are being cleaned out. And so when I say you should, if you show love to a demonic being, it will help them to return back to the source. Do I mean you should hug a demonic being? No. Do I mean you should let a demonic being rape you? No. Do I mean you should be compassionate towards a demonic being, understand where they come from, why they are behaving the way they are, and what you need to do to help them? Yes, that is what it is. It is the idea of like the Chinese monks that were taken into custody, when the Buddhist religion was suppressed in China, like in the 50s and 60s. It's still suppressed there, but many, many monks were arrested. And one monk was interviewed after many years later, and he said, they said, were you afraid when you were in prison? He said, I was not afraid. I was only afraid of losing compassion for the beings that were imprisoning me. This doesn't mean that he was like, I'm going to hug my imprisoner. I'm going to hug a man with a machine gun. No, not at all. It meant that even during his imprisonment, he understood why that soldier was acting the way he was. What's the training that made the soldier be a prison guard? Why does he keep this holy person in jail? We now understand why the occupiers of the interstices are the way they are, what they are motivated by, and why they have been acting in this way. Not justifying it, not an apologist. This is meant to be empowering information. So I think I've spoken about everything I need to speak about. I'm going to stop the recording and now open everything up to comments from everyone else. Thank you so very much.